They say the fog in London can hide anything shadows, secrets, even the darkest of sins. But for one terrifying autumn in 1888, that fog hid a killer so brutal, so elusive, that not a single soul knows who he really was. A man who vanished into the mist before the police could catch him. A name whispered in fear and fascination. That would echo through the ages, Jack the Ripper. But what if everything you think you know about him, the madman lurking in the shadows, is only the surface? What if beneath the myth lies a secret so disturbing, so twisted, that when you hear his name again, you'll never think of it the same way? Tonight, the gaslights flicker low, the alleys grow darker, narrower. Step with me into Victorian London's cold, unforgiving heart where every corner hides a story, every shadow holds a clue, and the truth is far murkier than the fog itself. Are you ready to walk with the ghost of Jack the Ripper? Subscribe now and let's begin. London in the late 19th century was a city of extremes. The towering spires and grand mansions of the West End hid behind them a dark, sprawling underbelly, the East End. Here, in Whitechapel, poverty wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a crushing weight that bore down on the backs of thousands. Tenements rose like cages stacked upon one another, filled with families desperate to survive. Streets steamed with noise, children crying, factory whistles blowing, horse hooves clattering on cobblestones. Crime was a constant threat, and the police, overwhelmed and often corrupt, struggled to keep order. For the women of Whitechapel, life was a relentless series of hard choices. With few options, many turned to prostitution just to afford a meal or a roof over their heads, making them easy prey for dangers lurking in those dark streets. On a cold morning, August 31st, 1888, a gruesome discovery shattered whatever fragile sense of safety existed in these alleys. The lifeless body of Marianne Nichols lay in Bucks Row, her throat savagely cut, her body mutilated in a way that sent a shockwave through London. Marianne Nichols was just the beginning. The terror that gripped Whitechapel was only starting to unfold its horrifying story. 1 week later, Annie Chapman's body was found in the backyard of a dilapidated house. Her throat was cut with brutal efficiency, her abdomen grotesquely mutilated. The killer's signature was becoming clear, a cruel message carved in flesh that no one could yet interpret. On September 30th, two victims were found within hours: Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes. Stride's murder was abrupt, almost unfinished. Some say the killer was interrupted. Eddowes, however, was a different story. Her body was mutilated beyond recognition, with organs removed in a chilling display of savagery. Finally, on November 9th, Mary Jane Kelly was discovered in her room, murdered with such ferocity that even the seasoned police officers were stunned. She was young, vulnerable, and her death marked the darkest point of the series. Each victim was not just a name or a statistic. Each was a woman with a story, a tragedy of survival crushed beneath the blade of a killer whose motives remain a mystery. With each murder, the terror that gripped London grew exponentially. Newspapers competed to capture every detail, sometimes exaggerating, sometimes speculating wildly. Amidst the chaos, letters began flooding into police offices and newspapers, some taunting, some claiming responsibility. The most infamous was the From Hell letter, delivered with a portion of a human kidney allegedly taken from one of the victims. Whether these letters were the Ripper's own handiwork or the acts of desperate copycats is still debated. The letters fanned the flames of paranoia, driving Londoners to suspect everyone and trust no one. Suspect after suspect emerged, with each possibility adding a new twist to the tale. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant and barber, was institutionalized due to mental illness and later became a leading suspect, bolstered by controversial DNA evidence discovered on a victim's shawl over a century later. Montague John Drute, a barrister and teacher who drowned himself shortly after the murders ceased, was considered suspicious, but little evidence directly linked him to the killings. Walter Sickert, a renowned painter, was accused by some modern investigators who believed his artworks contained coded confessions of his sinister deeds. Other suspects included George Chapman, a poisoner convicted of killing his wives; Michael Ostrog, a known criminal, and even rumors pointing toward royal conspiracies shielding the killer. Each theory tantalizes and frightens. Each, however, falls short of the absolute truth. The Metropolitan Police were under enormous pressure. Investigations were hampered by lack of forensic science, false leads, rumors, and political interference. Conflicting witness reports did more to confuse than clarify, and the killer slipped beyond the grasp of justice. Some whisper that the Ripper was protected by powerful forces. Others say the police were simply outmatched by his cunning. The murders stopped as suddenly as they began, leaving a city frozen in fear and grief, but without answers. Chapter 6. The legend lives on. A haunting legacy. Jack the Ripper did more than kill. He became legend, a symbol of terror, mystery, and the unknowable darkness that lurks inside mankind. His story has inspired countless books, films, and theories. Yet behind the myth are the silenced voices of his victims, whose lives deserve to be remembered beyond the shadow of the killer's name. Even today, Jack the Ripper casts a long shadow, reminding us that some mysteries resist solving, some evil evades capture, and some stories refuse to fade with time. So, what do you believe? Was Jack the Ripper a monstrous madman, a secret protected by the elite, or perhaps someone else entirely? Share your theories in the comments below. I'm reading every single one. If this journey into the fog of history gripped you, hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe for more mysteries from the shadows of the past. Because some ghosts never rest, and some stories never end.